Either Joe Flacco is a Hall of Fame quarterback or Joe Burrow is one of the more overrated quarterbacks in the National Football League. There's simply no other way to look at it after what we saw from Joe Flacco against the Bears. 31 of 47, 470 yards, 4 touchdowns. Joe Flacco is 40 years old, throwing to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins with as much success as Joe Burrow has had during his time with the Bengals. Now, we know that Joe Burrow's success is tied in with the tandem of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. We know Joe Burrow was adamant that the Bengals bring back Jamar Chase and T. Higgins together. It is not hard to see why after what Joe Flacco has been able to do during his 4 games with the Bengals so far. Again, if you're in the Joe Burrow camp, if you think he's an elite quarterback, if you think he's up there with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, who have done more with less consistently, then you think that Joe Flacco is a Hall of Fame quarterback because Joe Flacco is doing exactly what Joe Burrow has been able to do all these years, putting up numbers that sometimes Joe Burrow isn't able to eclipse in certain instances. So this is going to be a very interesting offseason for the Bengals. Now, again, we mentioned it. Joe Burrow asked for T. Higgins to be back. They could have used a draft pick from a trade and shored up that defense somehow, maybe had some extra cap space to do something. I don't know what the Bengals are thinking. But what I do know is I'm starting to look at Joe Burrow's legacy a little bit differently after seeing what Joe Burrow does. I'm not saying Joe Burrow is a bad quarterback, but am I putting him up there with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen? I don't think so after what Joe Flacco does. It's time to talk about that because, again, Joe Flacco's been amazing. In fact, he's 14th all-time in passing yards. Every quarterback ahead of him on that list is either in the Hall of Fame or is going to the Hall of Fame. So it's not hard to see why you would put Joe Flacco in that Hall of Fame conversation. I certainly would if I was a Bengals fan because he's putting up numbers for you, albeit in a losing effort. But if you're talking about Joe Burrow being that guy and you're seeing Joe Flacco do quite the same thing, is Joe Flacco up there in the same tier as Joe Burrow? Not many people would say yes to that, which begs the question, how good is Joe Burrow really? I'll leave you to be the judge.